In the fog-soaked streets of Loring Hollow, a quiet town known for whispers and shadows, a rideshare driver named Callio picks up a passenger who vanishes before his eyes. What starts as an unsettling encounter turns into a chilling unraveling of buried truths, local legends, and a decades-old injustice. As Callio digs deeper, he's pulled into a story of loss, silence, and the ghost of a girl who refused to be forgotten. Before we jump into this incredible story, drop a comment, let us know where you're watching from. And if you enjoy this video, be sure to subscribe for more. Callio hadn't always been a rideshare driver. He once worked as a substitute teacher, quietly grading papers in the corner of overfilled classrooms. But after his sister vanished without a trace 5 years ago in Loring Hollow, something inside him broke. His belief in the ordinary, his trust in closure. Now he drove nights, hoping to outrun silence, tuning into late-night radio stations that crackled with static and strange voices. That evening was soaked in fog, the kind that muffled sounds and made headlights look like dull moons. At 11:47 p.m., a new ride pinged through. The name on the request was Lionel. Odd. He pulled up beside the town's abandoned train station. A girl in a pale hoodie stepped in. No words, just silence and the faint smell of wet earth. He checked the rearview mirror. She was there, head down, fingers nervously pulling at her sleeves. "You okay back there?" Callio asked, his voice a little too loud. No reply, just the faintest nod. She didn't give a destination, but the GPS was already routing somewhere. Forest Edge Trailhead, a place locals avoided after dark. "You sure about this?" he tried again. Nothing, just that eerie quiet. As the car hummed along the cracked roads, Callio kept glancing in the mirror. Her shape was still there. Then near mile marker 43, he turned to ask one more time, and his blood went cold. The seat was empty. No sound. No slam of a door. No rustle of fabric. She was gone. His hands trembled as he pulled over. He searched the back seat, even checked under the car. Nothing. His phone still showed the ride was in progress. He wasn't alone, though. The air had shifted. Callio sat behind the wheel, pulse pounding in his ears. He looked again at the ride history. The name Lionel was there, but when he tapped it, the profile vanished. Vanished. Not canceled. Just erased. That shouldn't be possible. He rubbed his eyes, unsure if the fog outside was thicker than the one in his head. But something else tugged at him, her hoodie. Pale but not white. It had the faintest rust-red blotch along the left sleeve. Like dried blood. He remembered reading something last fall. An old case reopened for a missing teen named Leanne Coer. Last seen near the train station. Pale hoodie. 17. Found weeks later in the woods, cause of death undetermined. The case went cold again. A shiver danced up his spine. Was Lionel a misheard version of Leanne? That night, he drove home in a daze, but sleep wouldn't come. Instead, he scoured forums, Reddit threads, Loring Hollow's missing persons Facebook page. That's when he found a post. It was dated exactly 1 year ago. Leanne Coer was failed by everyone. She's not done speaking. Over the next few nights, Callio returned to the same trailhead. Not to drive, just to sit and wait. The first night, nothing. The second, his car battery died. On the third, he brought flowers and placed them at the trail entrance. Then something strange happened. His phone pinged. A ride request. Again, Lionel. Same pickup spot, the train station. Callio hesitated, heart hammering. But he accepted. This time, no one appeared at the station. Just fog. And yet, when he looked in the rearview mirror, she was there. Hoodie. Bloodstain. Head down. Not speaking. He didn't say a word this time. He just drove. No GPS guidance. Just instinct. The car moved through the night like it knew where to go. They passed the Coer family home. The courthouse. The school. And then stopped at the cemetery gates. She finally looked up. Her face wasn't angry. It was pleading. With trembling hands, she handed him a folded piece of paper. By the time he unfolded it, she was gone again. But this time, not without a trace. The paper was a printed school report, an evaluation, dated 2003. Leanne Coer, early signs of trauma, repeated attempts to report assault, teacher response, inconclusive. Callio felt sick. The signatures at the bottom? One name stood out, Mrs. Aren Half, his old high school principal. Still active in the district. Still praised for her discipline and order. He knew what he had to do. The next morning, Callio walked into the school under the guise of requesting records. But his real aim was her office. He confronted her with the paper. Her face turned pale. "Where did you get this?" she asked, eyes narrowing. "You knew," he said. "You knew what was happening to her, and you buried it." She denied it at first, then grew hostile. "You don't understand what it was like. Back then, things were handled differently." But her voice shook. "You don't scare me," she added. "Maybe not," Callio replied. "But her truth does." He left the paper with a journalist friend that afternoon. What followed was a storm no one expected. The story exploded. Online forums turned into war rooms. Students from that era came forward, each with stories that echoed Leanne's. Whispers turned to statements. Testimonies turned to resignations. Aren half stepped down within days. But it didn't stop there. An anonymous tip, likely planted, led authorities to a buried journal near the old trailhead. Leanne's. Every page was soaked in pain, but also names. Details. Patterns. The town that had once tried to forget now had no choice but to remember. Parents demanded accountability. Protests bloomed outside the school. But in the chaos, Callio stayed quiet. He only returned to the trailhead one last time. This time, not at night. It was sunrise. The fog had finally lifted. He brought a bench with her name carved into it, a small tribute. He sat and waited, unsure if she'd come again. But there was no ghost this time, just the sound of birds and wind. Maybe that meant her voice had finally been heard. Weeks passed. Callio returned to his quiet driving routine, but something inside him had changed. He wasn't running anymore. One evening, he picked up an elderly woman who needed help getting to the library. As he drove, she said something odd. "You've got the look of someone who's carried a message for the dead." He glanced at her, startled. "Excuse me?" She smiled. "Nothing, dear. Just thinking out loud." Before she stepped out, she tapped the seat behind her. "Someone rode here recently. A girl. She left something." He froze. She handed him a folded page. Not aged. Not stained. It was a drawing. A tree with a swing. Under it, a girl and her dog. Leanne had a dog once, Pax. That was in her case file. He knew now that she wasn't trying to scare anyone. She just wanted the truth to breathe. To bloom. As he drove into the night, he realized this town would never see her again, but it would feel her. In every hallway, every whisper, every seat in the back that would never be truly empty again. Callio began to notice changes around Loring Hollow. The school erected a memorial stone at the base of the forest-edged trail, engraved with a simple line. "For those who were silenced, may your truths echo forever." A mural followed, painted by local students, depicting a faceless girl walking out of the mist. It was hauntingly beautiful, and everyone knew who it was for. Callio didn't attend the unveiling. He watched from a distance, hands in his pockets, heart heavy but whole. He'd never set out to become part of her story. But somehow she'd chosen him. Maybe because he'd listened. Maybe because he'd lost someone too. Either way, her silence had led him somewhere louder than he'd ever imagined, justice. One night, as autumn curled its fingers into the trees and dusk fell earlier than before, he found an envelope taped to his windshield. No stamp, no name. Just a small pine needle tucked into the seal. Inside was a photo. It was Leanne standing with two other girls, smiling, truly smiling, in front of the train station. Scrawled on the back were the words, "There was a time I was happy. Thank you for reminding me." Callio held it to his chest for a long time. Tears came not from sorrow, but from relief. He had wondered for so long if he was chasing ghosts for no reason. But now he knew. The past wasn't just haunting him. It was healing through him. The ride requests stopped after that. No more fog-drenched summons to the train station. No more rearview apparitions. But every so often, when he passed mile marker 43, the radio would crackle with static for just a second. And in that moment, he'd remember the silence, the hoodie, the paper, the look in her eyes that pleaded without sound. There were other stories in Loring Hollow, buried under years of dust and denial. Callio didn't go looking for them, but somehow they found him. Maybe it was something about his quiet, or the way he kept an extra flower in the back seat, just in case someone needed to be remembered. In time, people began to whisper about the ghost driver of Loring Hollow, the one who helped lost souls find their voice. Some claimed it was just a story. Others swore they had seen his car glide through mist like a boat on water, headlights dimmed, never stopping, always searching. But Callio didn't care for the legends. What mattered was that someone had been heard. Leanne wasn't just a name in a report anymore. She was a ripple that became a wave. And through her, the town had finally learned that silence doesn't protect the truth. It buries it alive. but every buried thing longs to rise. If this story moved you, if it made you pause, reflect, or feel something deep in your chest, then it means her voice has reached one more heart. There are so many untold stories out there, waiting to be heard, waiting for someone to look a little closer, to care a little deeper. Maybe you know someone like Leanne. Maybe you've been someone like Leanne. Let this story be a reminder: silence is not the end. Truth always finds a way. If you believe stories like this deserve to be told, help us keep the echo going. Like, comment, share, and subscribe to Untold Files, where every voice matters, even the quietest ones.